think we're 10 days away from Pinball Expo. That's exciting. It rained in San Diego the last few days. That never happens. That's good stuff. All sorts of news going on in pinball. And here we are on episode 199 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go! Welcome. Thank you for listening. This is Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is my podcast. It's my commentary, and it's me, a man and a quarters. How you doing? Great to be with you tonight. We're coming to you not live here on a beautiful, cool, crisp Monday night, October 5th, 2015, from, like I said, a rainy, wet San Diego, California. It's been great. The rain has stopped, which means it probably won't rain for another 6 months or so. But it was nice while it lasted. It was great. It's going to get warm again. I'm going to go to the beach this weekend. And then the following week, I'm going to go to Chicago and Pinball Expo. There's good stuff happening. Glad to be with you. Back from my East Coast swing. It was a weird trip. You know, I told you this in episode 198. I didn't have my laptop with me, and me not having my laptop is really debilitating when I'm trying to do things for, this show. It was hard to do, and a lot of people messaged me and said, "Oh man, your phone show sounded great." It was really tough to do was the problem. It did sound okay. I was actually kind of impressed at how good it sounded. But boy, what a pain to do any sort of editing and just getting the upload done. And I don't even think I ever posted the show art on the website. So I got to go do all that. Just really tough. So that's been interesting not having my computer for a full week. It shows you how tethered to the stuff I am. I did get to play some pinball out there. Let's just go ahead and jump in and do a little trip report, shall we?
Trip reports.
So I got to play at the Pinball Wizard in Pelham, New Hampshire. Again, it's hard not to go there anytime I'm in the New England area. If I'm within, an hour, I will try and make my way out there in the evening and play some pinball. And I fell in love again. Every time I go, I play the Doctor Who that they have there, and it just makes me want one so badly. And there's actually a thread on Pinside right now for somebody in California saying, "I want a Doctor Who really badly, find me a Doctor Who." And that's how I feel. I want a Doctor Who. Definitely a game that's going up, as they say. So I had a nice time there, but I was super tired that night, and I knew I had a long day the next day. So the important day, the day I want to kind of talk about on the trip, was really last Thursday. I drove all the way through Connecticut down to New York City. I was staying in Manhattan Thursday night. Got there 9 o'clock or so, and I was faced with that decision where I was tired, a full day of work. I'm in the middle of the greatest city on the planet to many, and certainly a city with a lot going on, literally staying in Times Square. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Maybe I should just stay in and watch television and not go out. And then I remember, Modern Pinball NYC is just like right there. It was a $9 cab ride away. So I just jumped in a cab, went to Modern Pinball, and had a great time. Steve Zoller, one of the owners, was there. And Francesco LaRocca was there, who obviously from Super League. I think Francesco. These are very dedicated people to pinball. Like, a lot of us are into pinball and we love pinball. These guys are really dedicated to pinball. I mean, think about it. This is where they spend their evenings and their days, and it's big time. So Modern Pinball was happening. It was good stuff. I was playing some heads-up games with those guys, playing some 3-player games, playing Kiss a bunch. It was really the most I've gotten to play Stern's Kiss game. Really, really enjoy that game. It feels unique in a lot of aspects. It just has a nice feel that's different from Metallica, different than Walking Dead. There's nothing amazing going on with the shots and geometry that you haven't seen before, but it puts it all together very well. So somebody who is into the theme is going to be very happy with that game. Somebody looking to buy a new Stern and wanting something, with a few unique shots and a couple ramp shots and some pretty cool rules from what I saw that are probably still coming along. I think Kiss is going to be a good solid pick for a lot of people. I really enjoyed it. Had a good time with that. And then Steve, one of the proprietors there of Modern Pinball, one of the two Steves, says to me, "Hey, do you know who Ryan Adams is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know who Ryan Adams is." I'm, in fact, despite take pinball out of the equation, I'm actually a pretty big Ryan Adams fan. And Steve goes, "Oh yeah, he's coming by later tonight." And I'm like, "Oh really? Is he now? What time?" And he goes, "Oh, pretty late." And I'm tired, and it's like already 11:30. And I'm like, "All right, well, I'll hang a little while." And sure enough, an hour or so later, there I am with Steve and Francesco and Ryan Adams and his band, and a girl who was on The Walking Dead. The girl who played Beth from The Walking Dead was there. It was just one of those weird moments. You're like, how exactly did I get here? And, chatted pinball with Ryan Adams, and he seemed to vaguely know of the podcast, something about Predator, and I was in on that. I wanted one of those, or something to that effect. He's a busy guy, and it's tough meeting people that you look up to because you have no idea what they're actually going to be like. And musically, I really look up to Ryan Adams, and so it was interesting hearing some of his pinball takes and some of his interesting ideas. He's an artist, and if you spend a lot of time around artists, you know that not all of their ideas are totally grounded in reality, I guess would be a very fair and light way to put it. But hey, he's got ideas. He really likes pinball. Pretty good player. Watched him play quite a bit, and his bandmates were playing somewhat. I felt like they were just more there for the support of it all, but you could tell Ryan's into it. He tours. His band tours with a Metallica pinball machine in a road case, which I thought was interesting. And I don't know, got to play with a dude who was nominated for a Grammy last year for whatever that's worth. So Ryan Adams, Modern Pinball, good times was had by all. Really enjoyed getting to play those games, because those games are set up. It's probably of the collections of games, where there's like more than 10 games in a place, which is not that many places in the United States. Of all the ones that I've played at, the Modern Pinball games are probably set up the closest to, like, quote, Papa style or competition style of any of those games across the board in general. They're set up pretty tough, pretty unforgiving. Outposts are up. You pay a entry fee for a time period to go into Modern Pinball. So I like that. I really like the games being set up tough. Makes you learn the game and play it better, and it doesn't cost you quarters every time. So I had a great time. Thank you to Steve and Francesco. The hospitality is great. I really appreciate it, and we're going to definitely have Steve on the show at some point just to kind of talk. I think it's been 2 years at Modern Pinball. It's been open now, I believe. So it's been there for a while, and go support Modern Pinball. If you're in New York City, go play pinball there. Spend the money. If you have friends there, tell them to go there. Rent's not cheap in New York City. We need to support somebody trying to do pinball like that. So hats off to those guys.
5 fast thoughts.
All right, I feel like I've been jotting down fast thoughts for days and days and days because I haven't done a show in nearly a week. So I've got all sorts of stuff on my mind. Fast thought number 1. There is going to be another seemingly pretty large code update for the Wizard of Oz, and somebody on Pinside I noticed proclaimed it as the most well updated game code-wise of all time, and maybe that's true. The code update was interesting. They're adding 2 extra balls. See what I did there? Extra balls. Which I think is interesting. There are going to be add-a-ball features added into the multi-balls. The Pindemption software will be added in, and a bunch of other stuff. Even some small stuff like 11-letter high-score names and things like that. So really cool to see that the Jersey Jack pinball crew is still updating and tweaking and making Wizard of Oz a more perfect wide-body first game from the company, if you will. So fast thought number 2, listened to the Spooky Pinball podcast the other day while I was driving through Connecticut, and they launched with what they called a new format, a leaner, meaner Spooky Pinball podcast, if you will, and I really liked it. I think listening to this show, I'm a fan of the shorter format just because I think people get through them a little bit easier. They're a little more digestible. Here we are on, episode 199 of this show. I don't think I could have done 199 episodes if there were 3-hour episodes. And I know, friendly listener, that there's the little elephant in the room, the fact that this is actually the 200th episode, because at some point I did some stupid, like, episode 57B or whatever it was, probably the Star Trek launch, some little mini episode. That's one of those, like, unfortunate things that happened way back when in the history of what we do here, and we know it's there, but we just sort of pretend it didn't happen, kind of like Sharky's Shootout. I'm just kidding. Anyway, fast thought number 3. Jorgen Engelbrektsson wins his 5th major tournament. Winner of the European Pinball Championship. Jorgen Engelbrektsson is ranked number 1, now has his 5th major, and is Jorgen the best pinball player in the world? I think he is, right? Like, that's the best pinball player in the world. People ask me all the time, you're into pinball. You know a lot about pinball. Who's the best player in the world? And they go, well, Keith Elwin's the best player in the world. And I don't know. I don't know if I can say that anymore. I think Keith's obviously one of the best pinball players in the world still, reigning Papa World Champion. But Jorgen Engelbrektsson makes a pretty strong case. I mean, just by the Whopper points, he's the best. So I think that this coming spring at the Papa World Championships is going to be very interesting what goes down with, I believe also the IFPA Championships are that same week, if I have that right. We need to have Josh Sharp back on the show to clear all this up, but Jorgen Engelbrektsson beating out Lyman Sheets. Pretty amazing stuff. So we'll get more into that very soon with Josh Sharp on his next appearance. What else do I got? Oh, fast thought number 4, I think. I'm all out of sorts here. I spent some time this weekend doing maintenance. I love to play my pinball machines, and I love to get them all up and running and get them how I want, and then I just sort of play. I'm kind of that guy who gets a new car and cleans it all up, vacuums it perfectly, gets it all dialed in how I want it, gets the right tires, and then I don't want to touch it. I don't want to do anything to it. I just want to enjoy it. And you got to do maintenance. And pinball machines are the same way. So I spent some time with some, microfiber cloths and some spray wax and some cleaning and just kind of going through the games and cleaning them. And oh my gosh, wax a Metallica or wax an America's Most Haunted and then go play a game. Boy, were those screaming fast. Absolutely incredible how fast those games are when you get a good coat of wax on the playfield. So, I don't know. Just that's what I was doing this weekend after I got home. Fast out number 5, episode 197 of Coast to Coast Pinball. I think we know what that was. John Papaduke came on the show. Is the most downloaded show in a 7-day period of time easily, and is on track to crush the 2-week download period. The way my analytics for this show are pretty bare bones, if you will. So I have to keep little notes every week of where episodes end up at. And it hit 5-figure downloads really quick, and I was sort of blown away. So if nothing else, it tells me how many people wanted to hear what John Papaduke had to say. So there's 5 fast thoughts for this episode 199 of Coast to Coast Pinball on October 5th.
Forum static.
All right, forum static tonight. We have photos this past week of the Game of Thrones premium art package. I had heard rumors a couple weeks ago after the blowout and the reaction of the art package for the Game of Thrones Pro and limited edition models that there was a chance Stern was going to go in and make some changes. This was not confirmed to me by anybody but at Stern, and hopefully maybe in the next few days we can do that. But that's what I heard. Somebody had told me they're going in making some pretty major changes, trying to appease some of the people who seemed so adamant about this theme. Because this was not the typical, from what I saw, the typical sort of internet angry typing guy thing where it's just like, I don't like anything until I do like it, and then I don't like it again. This to me was really more, I love this show, and this, what you're presenting me, does not make me happy. That's really what I saw out of it. I saw some people genuinely upset that the art package did not meet their vision of what a Game of Thrones pinball machine should look like. And a lot of it had to do with the tone of the color scheme, to a lesser degree, the choice of characters for the sides and back glass, et cetera, et cetera. So we had not seen the premium, and then and their speculation is, they're not going to show us the premium because the limited edition's not selling, blah, 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 blah. Well, anyway, finally the premium comes out, and it's blue. Where the Pro and the limited edition playfield overwhelmingly was sort of a sand colored. You had a dark kind of, you had fire between the flippers up to like a gray-red colored brick up into the desert sand map sort of feel, and then up into sort of blues up in the top right corner, and then depending on if you're on a Pro or limited edition, you had the castle or not up in the left. The premium is the sort of White Walker, the Battle of the North edition, where the bricks and the map field is all now blue tinted, and there is snow all over a lot of the gears that were spread across throughout the artwork in the playfield. Also, another pretty major significant change is the gradient that seemed to be behind the house inserts, and the houses are like the family inserts right in the middle of the playfield between the two swords. Many people are calling it a shield. I don't actually know if it's a shield. It's certainly shaped like a shield, but it might just be shaped like a shield to sort of give you that vibe of a shield. In any case, the silver kind of chrome gradient that was found, like a circular gradient on the first two art packages, has now been replaced with a chain mail pattern. So you have a much darker playfield where you have this blue, kind of icy blue feel all over the playfield. Huge improvement in this person's eyes. I like it a lot. I really, really do. I was not a fan of the sand and the rust color that was all over the playfield. And yeah, you can make the argument that a lot of the main story with the Mother of Dragons takes place in a very sandy type area, where I don't remember the names of everything. Marine, I think, is that the name of the place? So anyway, you could make an argument that it totally fits, but it was just that this show just had a darkness to it that I think people were looking to, and I think this premium art package on the playfield gives you that a lot better. At least I really like it. It looks better. It's still not like amazing art on any level. I think it's still sort of just kind of background, colors and patterns and stuff to the game. Much like people sort of dismiss Star Trek playfield as not having great art, where it was really just background. I think that's okay if your inserts are telling a story and your call-outs are good and your dots are good, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Also of note is the back glass, and the back glass has the big king of the White Walkers guy, the Ice King dude, who is just creepy as all get out in the show, surrounded by Jon Snow, his portly friend, the King of the Bones guy, and then the head wildling guy who Jon Snow sort of has interactions with. I shouldn't spoil stuff for the show, but anyway. So you have also now a darker bluish tinted background for the back glass. I like that as well for this translate. I like it better. I still don't love it, but I like where they went with it. And the side art has also the blue themes. I think it looks better. I think it's okay, so if this is an original thought and this is what they were always going to go with, this was the best of the three. If this is reaction to the outspokenness that people had against the first two art packages, then I think that this is a pretty good move on Stern's part to be able to so quickly make a change that is seemingly not going to slow down their production of these games. So, like I said, hopefully we will be able to verify some of that very soon and find out exactly what the real story was with that. So I got something lined up on that. But the conversation rages on Pinside. The thread is called "It's Official. Next Stern is Game of Thrones." People are playing it. They had it at the European Pinball Championships. So we've seen some footage. We've heard nothing but fairly positive gameplay reviews. Everyone says the word fast, and they're talking about the pro game here, but the word fast gets thrown out quite a bit. The rules, very complete. You're not likely going to have a where's the code movement on this game. So Stern has stepped up their commitment to getting rule sets and code more complete, at least with the Game of Thrones release, because by all accounts the rule set is baked in pretty good as of right now, and if nothing else, they have a really solid foundation for the launch of this game. Clearly, the last couple years going into Expo, I thought that the highlights, the upcoming buzz was about a lot of the other companies. The last 2 years to me were sort of the year of the boutiques. Some were great, some crashed and burned, obviously. This year, to me, I feel like Stern is going to get a lot of the spotlight here. Game of Thrones is going to be a big title for them, theme-wise certainly, and a lot of people are excited to play this. I see a lot of people emailing me asking about buying one, if they should go premium or pro, and I don't think I'm not able to make that call yet. I think they're going to be very different games. I think it's pretty obvious that the marketing side of Stern is really kicked it up a notch from a year ago. They had a pretty nice Walking Dead launch party at Expo last year, but I think this year they're looking to really go all out. So they've announced at 2015 Chicago Pinball Expo, they're having a Game of Thrones launch party again, special Game of Thrones launch party. Features of the launch party include free beer. Many of you will very much appreciate the free beer aspect of this from the Half Acre Beer Company. A classic Stern Electronics lineup, as they're calling it. I think it's classic Stern pinball machines, courtesy of Logan Arcade. A live DJ, courtesy of Logan Hardware. And this event will be, there'll be a pinball tournament, IFPA sanctioned pinball tournament. We'll talk to Josh about that soon. Cash bar, etc., etc. And the event will be hosted and live streamed by friend of the show, Dead Flip co-founder, co-member, what do you want to call him, Jack Danger. So the revolution will be televised. The launch party will be streamed, as they might say. So this will be Friday night at 9:30 p.m. in the Westin at Expo. It's definitely going to, I think, be fun, live music. They're going to have the creators of the game there for like a meet and greet. It's going to be all out. Launching Game of Thrones. We're going to get to play the game. Can't wait. Very excited about that. It's great that Dead Flip and Stern have sort of had like a mind meld there, because they're both in Chicago. They're both looking to do everything they can to support pinball. Obviously, Stern does it as a business. Dead Flip does it for the love and sort of as a business, I guess. I see them getting money on Twitch. I see people donating, not just to kids, but, to Dead Flip. So, good stuff. Appreciate what everybody's doing there. Looking forward to attending that party. So, also, on Forum Static tonight, we have now seen not just a leak of a toy from Rob Zombie's Spook Show International, which we did see. Looked great, Charlie. Sorry that it got out when you didn't want it to. We have now seen the official translite. Today, Spooky Pinball posted a photo of KT holding up not just the translite for Rob Zombie's Spook Show International, not just autographed by Rob Zombie, but also standing on the plot of land where Spooky Pinball is going to build their brand new factory. So this is kind of like big time, the real deal here. I had seen 8 months ago, maybe, on Charlie's phone, a sketch of the back glass of what it could possibly look like. It was real early days, and it actually does sort of resemble that, with Rob himself with his hands up, kind of, looming over all the ghouls and bad, evil creatures. And I see, from that sketch, which was just black and white, to what it is now, it's like sophisticated, ghoulish horror, I guess would be how I'd look at it. It's obviously Alex Horley is a great artist. Very dark shadings. I like the scale of everything. I think it's going to be really fantastic up on a pinball machine. I like the colors. It doesn't look like anything else. It really doesn't. This is a very unique looking back glass, which I think is cool. We've got Sid Haig's creepy clown guy, whose name I forget, from House of a Thousand Corpses, which was also the toy that leaked, the little mold of his head, which looked awesome. We also have what looks to be Rob Zombie's wife, who's holding a knife and wearing a cowboy hat. So anyway, I don't know all the creatures, but I know that this looks really cool. Teresa wants no part of this. I have shown it to her and said, hey, what would you think about? And before I could even finish this, she goes, oh, no. Don't you put that in my house, because she's scared of things. But we'll see how that plays out, right? So I am really excited. Not sure if there will be a Rob Zombie's Spook Show International to play at Expo or at Terry from Pinball Life's party that is happening Friday night. That's also Friday night, same time with the Walking Dead, or the Game of Thrones launch party. Everything's Friday night. What am I going to do? So they're not sure if they're going to have one yet. I think they've got the backglass art approved, the side art approved. I think they're waiting on the final playfield art to be approved, and they got to get that out. So they're hoping to bring a game at the Pinball Life open house. I know that Sven Gulli, who is on MeTV, who's been in the Chicago area for a long time, or at least that area, hosting horror films or creepy movies and stuff on TV, he'll be auctioning off the final America's Most Haunted that will be sold from 2 to 4 p.m. So I guess that's not at night exactly. So there's a way. I'm trying to get to all of this stuff. It's difficult. But anyway, very exciting times for Spooky Pinball. I know that their list is well past 300 people interested in the game. I am on the list of 300 to buy because I was in on America's Most Haunted. We shall see, is all I can say on that. We shall see. It might not just be whether or not I like the game, it's whether or not I can convince one beautiful Teresa that we need more horror in this in this office here. So anyway, very excited about that. The response to the Rob Zombie Spook Show International art so far is fantastic. A+. There are people kicking themselves that they're not higher up on the list right now and in on the game. I think Charlie knows this. He said it to me. He said it on the internet. People will drop out and not buy the game. There will be some segment of people who either just don't have the money to buy it, just don't think they want a super adult horror type game in their house, don't like the way the game looks or plays, etc., etc. There will be some drop out, so have no fear. If you're not right in the top 300, there will be some spots open. And you never know. Maybe I'll buy mine and then sell mine to the highest bidder for charity. You never know. I mean, Teresa might make me do that. So anyway, very excited for Spooky Pinball. That looks fantastic. Can't wait to see more of it in the upcoming weeks. So I feel like I have to check the mailbag because this is episode 199. It's really the 200th episode, I love the mailbag because it strokes my ego. Yes, that's true. But more than that, when I first started doing this show, the first few days after the first, like episode 1 and then episode 2, and then it was like right around episode 3 and 4, I was sort of like. The reason I was able to keep recording more shows was that I was getting emails very quickly. And early on, it was a few people. There was just like a few core group of people who I'd actually heard their names before on other pinball podcasts writing into them. So they were clearly people who were, very hungry for pinball content, much like I was. And the name Joe Zenkis comes to mind. I remember that very clearly. And there are people who commented on Facebook real early on. And that was really great because it made me feel like I wasn't just wasting my time here, staying up late at night, not just going to bed and getting some extra sleep, but staying up talking pinball and dissecting what's happened, dissecting what's happening, etc., etc. So the feedback was really important. The praise is cool, and I try to not let it go to my head or anything. I get a lot of nice email. And that's not a brag, that's just, it is. I get a lot of nice email. People in pinball are generally fairly nice people. So I get a lot of nice email, and I actually try not to read all that stuff. And I try and just respond to that as quick as I can when I can. Because I don't want to sit here and bore you guys with a bunch of email like that. But after episode 197 and the John Popadouk thing came out, I got a ton of email. I'm looking at this right now, page 1 of my Gmail thing, I don't even know how many emails that is. Is that 30 or 40? Is just back to September 30th. And so before, the next page before that goes to September 27th, which I believe is the day after the show was posted, maybe? I don't quite know my dates. But anyway, tons and tons of email. And it was pretty great because I got drugged through it pretty good, as we talked about last episode on Pinslide. But almost all the email was positive. And I did have some that said, hey man, that was boring. But it's kept coming, and after episode 198, a lot of people reached out and said, yeah, I think I appreciate what you did. So I'm going to read some of that. I pulled some other emails out. One of these is really old, and I realized I'd never answered it. So I just wanted to go through some mailbag stuff here. So sorry if this is dull to any of you, but I'm going to go ahead and get through it because it's my show, and I'll do what I want. Here we go. So subject line is, do you have a favorite game you would never own? And he says, what I mean is, there a game at shows or at some of the cool arcades you hit up that you always play, but have never considered buying when you see it for sale. I have one, and it's Whitewater. I love the game, but the theme, callouts, and price just don't do it for me. Anything like that for you, keep on keeping on, Mark. That's a kind of an interesting question, and at first I thought, no, I think if it's a game I like, I would buy it. But then I started thinking, you know what, there are games that do sort of fit into that. And price actually is one of those determining. I would tell you that Medieval Madness is one of those games because I love playing Medieval Madness. I love that game. It's fun. It's classic. It's not ranked number one on Pinside Top 100 for no reason. So I always play Medieval Madness when I see one, whether it's at Silver Ball or at Pinball Wizard or wherever I am and there's a Medieval Madness. I like to play that game. I probably wouldn't spend the money to get one. I almost did on the remake, and I still may someday, but I just, for whatever reason, that amount of money just doesn't quite jive for me. I just said jive. It's 2015, and I just said jive. Come on. So anyway, I think that's one of them. There's some like older games too that probably pop into that. Like, as much as I like Paragon, and as much as I like, what am I thinking of? As much as I like Genie, and there's a few others, those big wide body games from that era, I probably wouldn't buy one just because I don't have any room for something that big. I mean, that's the reality of those. I just, Addams Family. I've grown to really appreciate Addams Family. I like Addams Family. I do. I know I've hated on it before and said I didn't get it. I didn't get the hype. Playing it in tournaments, I think, put some focus on it for me, really dissecting the rules. And just kind of the two-pronged approach to that game I really like. So I play it all the time. I probably wouldn't spend the money on an Addams Family. And then there's a game that I've talked about on this show for a long time of really, really wanting, just because I like, it has that sort of, it creates that life under glass, that little, that vibe to it, that X factor it has, and that's Champion Pub. I really like Champion Pub, and better players always laugh at me when I say that, and they say, oh dude, that game's, you'll get bored of that game. I really like that game. Again, I don't know if I pay the money for it, because I've played it enough now at shows and on location at a couple places that I probably would get bored with that game. So that's probably the reality of it. I'm a better pinball player than I was a couple years ago, too. By far and away, I'm a better pinball player. And that affects kind of what games I'd want to own. I want to own games that are difficult, that challenge me. So like AC/DC, I'd buy in a heartbeat if one came up for the right price, because that would be a game that would challenge me greatly. So anyway, very interesting question, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. That question's sort of old. All right. Hey Nate, long time no email. Have you spoken with John Papaduke since the interview? I was in the camp that loved it and was glad to see the tide seem to turn more in favor of the show after your hilarious episode 198. Thanks again. Chat soon, Dave T. I've not spoken with John. John emailed me and asked me for an MP3 copy of the podcast. That's it. That's all. What else we got here? All right. This is from Frank. Nate, I'm relatively new to the hobby and have been listening now for a couple months, and I have to say your take it or leave it attitude about how people regard you and your podcast is so bad ace. I frickin' love you, Nate, is something I kept saying in my head over and over while listening to episode 198. I'm speaking, of course, about the unapologetic stance you've taken against any negative feedback you've received, about the incredibly sensitive, respectful, and above all, professional way in which you handled the J-Pop interview, and then later to speak so candidly about him and about your thoughts surrounding the whole Zidwar fiasco when you knew full well he could be listening. It kind of blew my mind a little bit. Almost made me want a Taylor guitar. Not ha-ha. How dare you, Frank? How dare you? I'm just kidding. He talks about his wife, who's a singer-songwriter, still in the industry. He plays shows with her in the Ann Arbor area. They would invite me to their show at the Arc, but I don't live in Ann Arbor, so I can't go to it. But anyway, that's a very kind email. Frank, I really appreciate you writing me that. Thank you very, very much. Let's see. This is from Andre. Glad you did the show, but could only stand to listen to the first 30 minutes or so. It almost made me sick thinking about all the folks whose money he's consumed in his completely diluted efforts. What was he thinking? That people were paying to be entertained by drawings and dreams? He's a great artist and a fine game designer, but he's not an engineer, programmer, accountant, project manager, material buyers, assembler, etc. And what made him ever think he was? Perhaps he simply took for granted what a great company it was that he used to work for that handled all those things. Everybody down to the folks who answered the phones should have their names on Bally Williams machines, or any others, not just the fancy pants designer who probably can't even change a fuse. I say all this because, like me, you work for a company that makes stuff people want to buy, makes stuff that people want, but has to pay its bills. And neither of us would be so foolish or narcissistically deluded to think we could do completely ourselves what we know requires the teamwork of all our dedicated coworkers. That's from Andre. Andre, that's well said. It's very well put. I've actually had this conversation when trying to explain to people I work with about this show, and why it was sort of an important show for me to do, and the way it all went down. I've tried to, tell some of my friends I work with, I explained it to them, our head guitar designer, his name is Andy Powers. He's the guy that Bob Taylor of Taylor Guitars handpicked to design our next 40 years worth of guitars, because Bob Taylor was the designer for the first 40 years or so. And I said to people, it would be sort of like our company going out of business tomorrow, and then Andy Powers starting a boutique company and say, hey, I'm going to hand build, a couple hundred guitars for you, and taking all the money and then never building the guitars for whatever reason, whether he couldn't source the parts, couldn't, get the project straight, et cetera, et cetera. And people kind of go, oh, I get it. And then they say, but why wouldn't he just build the guitars? And I'm like, okay, let's pretend the guitar had as much wiring as a Honda Civic, and you wanted to redesign the whole way it was built with all new parts. And they go, oh, okay. Trying to tell that to somebody who doesn't get pinball in a way that they'll understand the problem that John created himself by trying to do it all on his own, and how he kind of has hit the wall trying to do that. So I think that's a great take on the whole situation from Andre there. I'm literally just clicking through these emails. You know what? This is sort of private messaging, but I'm going to just call this out. After some of the really harsh criticism about the show specifically, because I had no problems with anybody who didn't like the interview. That's totally fine. The harsh stuff against me was kind of lame, but whatever. But I looked at some of the people who really kept saying, didn't ask the hard questions over and over, and I actually messaged some of those people on Pinside. And if I told the story in 198 already, I'm sorry, I can't remember. And I messaged 4 or 5 people, and only one person responded. And just and it was a great response too. And my question was very simple, what hard questions did you want an answer to? And I sent that to 4 or 5 different Pinsiders, people I didn't really know, just to see what they wanted answered. Because I thought a lot of the questions were asked myself. I think I sent it to 5 people. 4 did not answer, and 1 person did answer me. And a shout out to Rob, who did answer. And he gave me a really good answer, and had great thought put forward. He gave me some ideas. I'm not going to share that because it was in private message, and I wouldn't do that to him. But it was very fair what he responded, and I appreciated that. So hats off to Rob. All right. Hi, Nate. Just wanted to comment on your commentary. It is outstanding. On occasion, I will disagree with your comments, but it's a good thing because it makes me think. Thinking equals smarter equals good. I'm glad you did the J-Pop interview, and I'm really happy with the way you conducted it. Now, if only you could convince Pinball Molly to come on the show. Smiley face. Anyway, podcast is great. As long as you're commentating, I will be listening. Have a great day, Dave. Dave, thank you. I maybe we convinced Pinball Molly. I don't know. I've addressed that on the show. I don't think she wants to throw herself out there in front of the crowd, as they say on this show, for reasons that are her own. What else do we got here in the mailbag? All right. Is from Dan. Just wanted to drop you a quick line and say that the J-Pop interview was the best episode you've done. Anyone claiming you should have attacked him is clueless to A, how things work, B, what makes a great interview. I've never seen someone hang themselves more clearly than he did. It's all right there on record. A scathing indictment that he created all by himself. Bravo for delivering a riveting and important piece of the sordid tale. Everyone that gave him money should be at least relieved that this scam was due to his total delusional state, and no one could have really seen that coming. I guess that's an important part of the whole story. And I've seen some people who have said, how could all these people have sent money on this game? And when you say that, you're really saying that about any of these games that weren't built when they were, paid for, or deposits were put out, whether that was Predator, to a degree, whether that was America's Most Haunted, although they did have, flipping working prototypes, which Predator did too. So really, when you go back and look at, Predator versus America's Most Haunted, the licensing was obviously one of the big deals. So it's you got to remember where the pinball hobby was 5 years ago. We'd had a decade of really just Stern, just Stern putting out games, and things were picking up. It was the beginnings of what would become this, quote, pinball resurrection that we're allegedly, in or at the end of, or riding upwards, hopefully still higher. And people were excited for new games and new ideas and something other than a Stern. Stern was doing what they do, and they're still doing what they do, but people wanted to see something else. And you had the echoes of Big Bang Bar, which finally got built in real limited quantities, and we saw what happened to the valuation of those Big Bang Bar games. And so when you had somebody come out and say, hey, I'm going to build a really limited game, I think the people that have that speculator streak in them, that investor streak, coupled with that love for pinball, probably couldn't help themselves and had the money to spend. That was probably a pretty, good sounding bet at the time. It was like, hey, this game's going to be super limited. I saw what happened to Big Bang Bar. The guy designing it is John Poppaduke. I love his games, and he worked at Williams, so he probably knows how to do this. Yeah, I'm in. There's people who would do that. Remember, a lot of people new to the hobby, and I shouldn't say that. That's way too of a broad stroke. There are people in this hobby, and some of them are new to the hobby, and some of them have been in the hobby a long time. They think about it only with their wallet. And I've actually heard people on other podcasts, even with this attitude. They view it only from, I would never spend that much money on this, or that is not worth it to me for this, or there is no value in that to me, because they're thinking with their wallet. And I run into this in my line of work all the time, because a lot of the people that sell Taylor guitars out in my stores are young people working in music stores. And when they see a $5,000 guitar hanging on the wall that may not sound or play any different than the $2,000 guitar, but it has, aesthetic changes and maybe rare woods and pearl and things that, up the cost and the value. But they see it and they think, oh, nobody's going to buy that. Who's going to spend $5,000 on that guitar? Because they're thinking, excuse me. They're thinking, I would never spend $5,000 on that guitar. And so there's people in this hobby who I see post on Pinside, and I get emails sometimes, and they say, this is absolutely not worth it. I would never spend that much money. I can go buy a Joker Poker and a, I don't know, name a game, and a Pinbot, and still have $1,000 to go blow in Vegas on the weekend for less money than Game of Thrones costs. And they're thinking with their wallets. They're not thinking that, there's a lot of people in this hobby who do want the latest, greatest. They want the shiny new toy. And guess what? They have the money to go get the latest, greatest, and the shiny new toy. And no one should hold that against these people. This hobby's thriving partly because there are people with money attracted to this hobby. If we were all broke, it wouldn't be that fun of a hobby, because Stern wouldn't be able to build as many new games as they're building. If Stern was only able to sell games to operators today, we would have a lot less pinball machines out in the world. If operators were the only ones paying thousands of dollars for games, we probably wouldn't have Spooky Pinball. We probably wouldn't have Jersey Jack Pinball. We probably wouldn't have Dutch Pinball, Highway Pinball. We wouldn't have all these new things happening. And don't begrudge the guy who's got a lot of money for whatever reason. I don't care how he got it, and then wants to spend it in this industry. And some of those people are the people that took it on the chin on J-pop games and on Predator, and that's really unfortunate. But it kind of bugs me on that whole like, oh, that's not worth it. There's no value there. Like I can buy a I can buy a Whitewater and have all this money left over, and I could buy 3 Doctor Who's and before I could buy a Game of Thrones limited edition. That's nonsense. Well, it's nonsense to you. Stop it a little bit, please. I don't know. Be nice, right? Okay, I think that's about all we got for tonight. I need a team name for Expo Brawl next week. I'm teaming up with Hilton Jones from Wisconsin at Expo Brawl on Friday morning, which is the Friday morning tournament. It's not the main big tournament at Expo, but it's I think it's pin golf, right? We're playing pin golf. And anyway, if you don't know about it, go to the Pinball Expo website and look for the tournaments and find Expo Brawl. But Hilton and I need a team name, and I don't have one. So I don't have anything good. I think we're team number 3 right now. I think that's what our official name is. We need something better than that. Ben Heck and I, when we teamed up at Mad Roll and Pinball, called ourselves Coast2Coast. That was pretty great. I don't expect us, Hilton and I, to be able to top that. But if anybody's got any suggestions, if you happen to be the person that suggests a name that we use, I'll send you a t-shirt. So there I'm bribing you to try and get a name for us. The only thing I've seen, Hilton emailed me and said, how about More Than a Feeling, because of my Boston reference from last episode. So I don't know. We need a name. But that's episode 199 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Episode 200 is coming. We're going to have special guests. We're going to have segments. We're going to talk about stuff. Maybe we're going to have Steve Ritchie on a zip line. No, we won't have Steve Ritchie on a zip line. That's not happening, I promise. But we will have some guests. We will talk about some good stuff. And I look forward to the next 200 episodes, right? Good things coming. Thank you for listening. Play more pinball. We'll talk to you again really soon.